So I thought today that we would talk about the dreaded S word for teachers, subplans. Hi, my name's Kate. I am a 17th year high school math teacher, and I am getting ready to be out for foot surgery for a couple of days, and so I need to make my subplans. So I thought that I would take you guys along to kind of share with you how I deal with subplans. Now, one of the advantages that I have is that my school is on a block schedule, and I'm going to be out for one blue day and one gold day, and so I have geometry classes on both days, so at least for those classes I don't have to come up with new plans. Whatever I'm doing on Thursday when I'm out, I'm going to also do Friday with with the other geometry class. I do have one pre-calc class on my blue day and one quantitative reasoning on my gold day, so I do have to come up with plans for both of those. But with the block schedule, it does make sub plans when you're out for 2 days a little bit easier, because you can just roll over the plans. So my school uses Canvas, so I always put a copy of all of what the students are expected to do in Canvas. I put it on our homepage. I have a calendar set up on the homepage where the kids know they can click on the CW and they can find their classwork. They can click on the HW, they can find their homework. So the students know this expectation already, where to find things. And then I also list all the expectations in the subplans itself, so that if the kids are like, we don't know what to do, then the sub also has it and knows that the kids know where to find it. So I try to cover all of my bases. So typically when I leave plans for my sub and leave activities for my students, especially with my geometry kids, because my geometry classes are mostly sophomores, but then I also have seniors who have failed geometry back in there. So it's really a mix of types of students, mix of abilities. I try not to leave anything new. I try to leave review things, and I try to leave paper copies of things because, how many students, I don't have my iPad, all this, it's not charged. Unfortunately, this time around, we just finished a unit, we just tested, and I'm losing these kids several days because of the PSAT. I lost these kids because of the doing the administration for the SAT. We have an e-learning day coming up. We have fall break coming up. So I'm really not seeing some of my kids a lot, and so we need to keep moving. So I am leaving a digital assignment. I'm having them work on some IXL as some practice. We're moving into triangle similarity. So we just introduced what similar means, and we talked about how to find missing sides of similar triangles. So their IXL problems are going to practice that. My pre-calc class, these kids are amazing kids. It's a dual credit class. So I can leave videos for the kids to watch of new concepts, and they are good at taking notes. They're good at talking with each other, helping each other, and then working through the assignments. So pre-calc, really easy to leave subplans for them. And my quantitative reasoning class started on Monday, a project called a WOW project. And we've been talking about making numbers understandable in the real world. Like, do we understand what 1,000 feet looks like? No, not really. And so how can we break down that 1,000 feet and talk about, well, maybe one story of a house is about 10 feet. So if we stack a one-story house 10 times on top of each other, that's 1,000 feet. And that gives us a better idea of what that looks like. So the students were given a bunch of different problems to pick from, and they have to create these projects. And they're going to work on finishing their projects, and then they're going to present when I see them next week. I'm going to turn the camera around, I'm going to jump in, and I'm going to start working on the subplans, and I'll stop and I'll explain things as I'm working. So I create my subplans in Google Drive. I just have a folder for my subplans, and I just copied over just a random subplan from last year, and then I will just title it with the date. And then in here, so I haven't actually written anything. Like I said, this is just old subplans from another year, but I'll just put it, thank you for covering my classes today. If you have questions, see Miss Nelson next door. So my math teacher buddy next door, happy to help. And just a reminder, students are not allowed on their phones during class. Be sure that they're in their assigned seats. So I do have some classes that like to not sit where they're supposed to. And then I'll list period 1, and I'll have to change all of these because my classes have changed, but I like to put in, if I have prep, a lot of times if I have prep, our subs will be assigned to a different class covering somebody else because, us, like everybody else, all the other districts are definitely short on subs. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to edit some things, and then I'll show you guys what I've come up with. So I've got my first day's worth of subplans done. So, swapped everything. So geometry, so remind students to turn in their homework. That was assigned from Tuesday at the beginning of class. And then students are going to be able to find their assignment in Canvas. They need their iPad. If they don't have it, they need to get a Chromebook from the Media Center. So I had already told my students this, but putting it in for the sub as well. And then I have the 3 IXLs that the students are doing. Initially, I was going to do 2, and I realized that's really not enough. We're on a block schedule, so for 90 minutes to do 2 fairly simple IXLs. So one of them, let me show you the original ones that they were going to do. They were going to do this one right here, similarity statements, where they have to, using the information, decide how the triangles are similar. So WXY is going to be HIJ, so triangle HIJ. Have to get a score of 100. That doesn't take that long to get for this particular topic. When identifying similar figures, so looking at the figures to decide if they're similar, so they're just going to have to set up the side proportions and see if they're equal. Then the last one that they are going to do is side lengths and angle measures in similar figures. So this is very directly tied to the homework that they had that they'll turn in at the start of this class. They can learn with an example. They can watch a video if they're struggling on some of these. So it's asking for the different side lengths and so on. For those, they get a little bit more complicated where they're going to have bigger shapes and they're going to have to answer more. So that should be enough to get them through. If they don't finish, it will be homework. And then just tell them how they're turning that in. And again, I will put all of this information more student-friendly for the students. In my second hour pre-calc, you guys saw me going through all my pre-calc stuff, trying to get everything fit in, knowing that, I may be out Monday as well, so I'll lose this class again, and I'm going to lose them at the beginning of November for a day. So really trying to make sure I get everything in, but I also want to include some of those fun activities. So I had to replan a few things. So my students are going to work on an introduction to graphing transformations. So they're going to use their iPads, they're going to use Desmos. So this is similar, this is the worksheet that they would do. So given these functions, so doing a little bit of review, and then on your iPad graphing this, exploring what happens when we add or subtract, so they should realize that it's a shift of up or down. And then we're talking about what happens when it's inside the parentheses, shifting left and right, and then have them just without it, what would happen. And then on the back, we are gonna look at some of our other functions, so our stretching and our skinnies, and just kind of a quick describe what happens, and then look at a couple other graphs. So that's what they're gonna do. They can use Desmos, they can work together, and then they will have a homework assignment where they practice graphing 6 of those. So that's what my pre-calc kids are going to do. And I talked to them about it, and they always know they can email me with questions. I told them I probably won't answer those on Thursday, but I'll get back to them on Friday. And then I have prep third hour, and I did put that they may be asked to sub for another teacher during that time. And then period 4 is another geometry, so I just said follow the same plans as period 1. So rather than redoing all that, I just put that up there. And then just, information. If you have issues, call down to the office, and then leave me the names of kids who don't behave. So that's my basic subplans. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this one printed off. I'm gonna make the copies that I need, and then I'm gonna work on my subplans for Friday. put everything in this binder. So in the front pocket, I've just got some first aid supplies. I've got some scratch paper, some pens, and then I have the dividers. So this works out really well if I'm absent for a few days. So I have one for Thursday, I have one for Friday. And so I printed out my sub plans and they're in here, and I will, behind this, I will put the seating charts for my class periods, and then any notes that I need to make about students, I'll make sure that they're here as well. And then I'll do the same for Friday. When I have a sub, I will leave this open on my desk with the information, and then beside this I will leave my piles with all of my different papers when I have papers, and sticky notes telling which period, and then if I'm out for multiple days, which day to give those. So this is what I use to hold my sub plans for my sub. And I did want to show you guys, I did get ahead a little bit just because I wanted to make sure that when I'm back on Monday, it's as easy as possible. So I made a copies of this operations and compositions of functions color by number for my pre-calc kids. So we're going to review adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing functions, and then we have compositions of functions on the back, and it's a color by number. So it's a Halloween one. It's so fun. They have the pumpkins here, and the other one that they can color are these ghosts. Our copy machine is struggling again, so it's leaving some pretty ugly marks on here, but once they color and cut them out, they're gonna be so cute. So I will leave a link in the description below for this resource on Teachers Pay Teachers if it is something that you're interested in. If you're not interested or not doing it during Thanksgiving, I do have this for multiple seasons. I love doing a holiday color by numbers, so I will leave a link of all of these so that you guys can check them out if it's something you are interested in. So I'm gonna get this put away, and I'm jumping back in to work on my sub plans for Friday. Got my sub plans done for this, so really easy. Again, being on block schedule, I could do just a lot of copy and paste. I have prep 5th period, and again I said that they may have to sub for another teacher, and then I listed my geometry, so same thing as what they were doing on the other plans yesterday because it's a different group of kids. Geometry 7th hour, just follow the same plans as 6th period. And then my quantitative reasoning class, so they're going to work on finishing their WOW presentation projects that they started on Monday. You know, and a reminder, if they lost their orange information paper, it's on Canvas. Don't want any excuses for these kids to tell the sub, oh, I can't do this because of this. Reminding the sub, letting the sub know it is an independent project. The kids know this, so hopefully this is, you know, encouraging the sub to be like, you guys are not supposed to be working together, do this on your own, because that is what I would be telling them. And then just as a reminder of when they are doing their presentations. And then our impact period, because I'm not going to be here, students really need to stay in the classroom. Normally they leave and I do remediation, but because I'm not here, there's no reason for them to leave. So I am going to get this printed out. The next thing that I have to do is set everything up in Canvas. It's lunchtime now, so I've spent pretty much my entire 90-minute prep working on this. I'm gonna get lunch, and then I have my geometry class. So I'm gonna, I guess, finish up getting my sub plans ready at the end of the day after school today, and then tomorrow before I leave, I will get my desk all set up for that. The next day, this is the last day before my sub is here, and it is almost 5 o'clock, so I do need to get out of here. So I just wanted to show you guys the last few things that I did to get prepared for the sub. So I'm gonna flip the camera around and talk about the first thing that I did. I try to write, even though the sub plans and the information for the kids is on Canvas, I like to put it on the board as well. So I've got my geometry, I've got my pre-calc, and I've got my quantitative reasoning. So I'm real lucky that I don't share a classroom, so these can just stay up for the 2 periods, and I find that this is helpful. So even though I list all this stuff in the sub plans and on Canvas, I feel like this is just one more place for the students to be like, this is your actual assignment. This, I find, has been really helpful. So this is one of the last things that I do before I leave for when I have a sub. This is how I leave my desk. So I leave my sub binder open, and I leave it open to the plans itself. And since it's 2 days, I've got my dividers here, but I've got my sub plans. I can't show you very far, but I've got my seating charts here, and then I have IXL username and passwords just in case they have trouble getting in, and I've got the same thing for Friday. And then here are the paper copies that I need for Friday, and here are the paper copies that I need for Thursday. Sometimes if I have a lot of paper copies and I'm going to be gone for multiple days, I'll ask my teacher bestie next door to come and do a reset, and I'll just put out the stuff for, let's say, Thursday, and then she'll come and she'll grab my copies. So I keep all of my extra copies here. So I'll ask her and she'll come and she'll just set out the new copies for the week. But because I only have a small amount of copies for one class on Thursday and then a small amount for Friday, I felt like it was pretty good just to leave them. And I have the same sub, so that definitely makes it easier. That's how I plan and prepare for a sub. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. I would also love to know what are some things that you do differently than I do when you are preparing for the sub. So please leave comments below. Let's start some awesome conversations to see how everybody does things. If you guys found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up. If you're interested in following along with my journey, please subscribe, and I will talk to you later. Bye.